What if a single airport security video could rewrite everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle? A video that isn't just a clip, it's a moment frozen in time that could shock the world. 7 massive suitcases, an unusual amount of cash, and K-9 dogs going into full alert mode. For millions, this might sound like a typical tabloid exaggeration, but the footage tells a story that no headline has fully revealed yet. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. It all started at one of the busiest airports in the world, Los Angeles International Airport. LAX is a place where hundreds of thousands of travelers pass every day, most in a rush, most oblivious to the unseen eyes recording every step. But on this day, the cameras captured something extraordinary. Something that immediately caught the attention of not only airport security, but also insiders who knew the stakes were unusually high. Imagine walking through a bustling terminal. The chatter of passengers blends with the hum of conveyor belts. Security scanners beep rhythmically, routine, mundane. And then a figure steps into frame, and suddenly, the ordinary shifts into something extraordinary. That figure was Meghan Markle. But this wasn't a casual celebrity appearance. Something about the way she moved, the sheer number of luggage pieces, and the subtle glances she exchanged with aides immediately triggered questions that would soon become explosive. 7 suitcases. Yes, 7. And the way they were handled, scanned, and inspected would later reveal details that no one expected. K-9 units trained to detect substances beyond normal suspicion began barking, sniffing, and circling with an intensity that raised every eyebrow in the security room. It wasn't routine. It wasn't ordinary. And it certainly wasn't what anyone thought they would see from a member of the public, or even from someone with royal connections. What makes this story more gripping is the sheer contrast between public perception and hidden reality. Meghan Markle has been portrayed in the media for years in certain lights, some flattering, some critical, but the LAX footage challenges everything you've been told. Here, the cameras didn't capture rehearsed smiles or stage public appearances. They captured raw, unfiltered moments that hint at secrets hidden beneath the polished exterior. Every movement, every glance, every suitcase tells a story, and the story is far more complex than the casual observer realizes. Now, let's take a step closer. Imagine standing behind the security monitors. The room is small, fluorescent lit, filled with monitors showing hundreds of cameras at once. Every beep, every motion triggers immediate attention. Security personnel are trained to notice the slightest deviation, the smallest hint that something is off. On that day, those alerts weren't hypothetical. They were real. And the first sign of unusual activity came not from the cameras, but from the K-9 units. Dogs, as anyone familiar with security will tell you, are trained to detect substances beyond the reach of human senses. Their reactions aren't fabricated, they are instinctive. And when these dogs reacted, it wasn't a casual wag of a tail. It was an urgent, repetitive alert that made handlers step forward, raise their voices, and double-check every inch of the luggage. In a matter of minutes, the seemingly mundane airport checkpoint transformed into a high-stakes investigation. Every suitcase was now a potential focal point for something bigger, something nobody in that room could yet articulate. Why does this matter? Because the footage didn't just capture a single moment. It exposed patterns, reactions, and anomalies that begged larger questions. Why exactly 7 suitcases? Why this much cash? What could trigger trained dogs to such a level of alert? And more importantly, what would happen if the public ever saw it? For those watching on monitors that day, it was more than a routine security check. It was a live puzzle that demanded answers, and each second seemed to ratchet up the tension. The intrigue deepens when considering how this footage came to light. Normally, security camera footage is highly restricted, often classified, and rarely seen by anyone outside the immediate authorities. But somehow, this clip found its way to insiders, leaked, and eventually, a broader public glimpse became inevitable. And when people finally saw even a snippet of the video, the reactions were instantaneous: disbelief, outrage, and endless speculation. Comments flooded social media. Headlines screamed questions that the footage had already begun to answer. Yet, despite all this attention, the full story remained tantalizingly out of reach. And here's the kicker. The footage didn't just capture Meghan Markle. It captured a moment in time where multiple worlds collided. Celebrity status, security protocols, potential legal questions, and public curiosity all intersected in ways that no one could have anticipated. The smallest gestures. The way she adjusted a strap on a suitcase, the subtle glance at a nearby staff member, carried meanings that would fuel debates for days, weeks, and potentially years. Let's zoom in further. Security logs indicate that one of the suitcases triggered a high-priority alert. Handlers moved with precision, yet there was hesitation, a rare moment where trained personnel had to pause and reassess. It was the kind of scenario security teams train for, but rarely face in real life. And the footage captures it all. Every second, every reaction, every glance is magnified, making viewers wonder, was this merely routine procedure or something far more consequential? Even the public reaction is part of the story. Imagine millions of people analyzing the footage frame by frame. Conspiracy theories begin to form. Some focus on cash amounts, others on the mysterious behavior of staff. Every frame sparks commentary, memes, and speculation. But the truth, what actually happened in those fleeting moments, remains just out of reach. It's the ultimate tease, the perfect blend of drama and suspense. And that's exactly why this footage has captivated attention worldwide. So, here's the question you need to ask yourself. Why would anyone carry 7 suitcases filled with cash through a major international airport? And why would trained security dogs react so strongly? Is it innocence, oversight, or something deliberate? And most importantly, what happens next? What will unfold once the rest of the world sees the full footage? But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. It all started the moment she stepped off the private jet. A seemingly ordinary day at Los Angeles International Airport, yet the cameras captured something extraordinary. For most travelers, LAX is a blur of rolling suitcases, coffee cups, and the endless echo of announcements. But for Meghan Markle, that day would be anything but ordinary. As she walked down the jetway, the world outside had no idea what was unfolding behind the scenes. Security cameras, unnoticed by the public, followed her every step. The private jet, sleek and unassuming, seemed to carry a secret that would soon erupt into a scene of unprecedented scrutiny. 7 suitcases, yes, 7, waited at the baggage claim, each one meticulously placed, seemingly ordinary but now glowing under the watchful eyes of airport security. The moment she appeared in the terminal, everything changed. Officers exchanged quick glances, their instincts honed by years of experience telling them that something about this was unusual. It wasn't just the sheer number of suitcases or the meticulous way they were handled. There was a tension, subtle yet unmistakable, a flicker in the body language of everyone involved. The handlers' movements became sharper, faster, more calculated. They weren't just observing. They were preparing for something bigger. Meanwhile, the K-9 units, trained, disciplined, and rarely wrong, began to stir. Dogs that were typically calm in crowded airports suddenly became alert, sniffing the air with precision, their instincts picking up signals invisible to the human eye. Every tail wag, every bark, every low growl was a signal. Something was amiss. The handlers knew better than to ignore it. Imagine the scene. The hustle and bustle of a busy terminal, the chatter of travelers, the rolling of suitcases along the polished floor, and then chaos. A subtle alarm, a flicker of attention, a dog barking at an unusual angle. It's a moment where the ordinary transforms into suspense, a place where the mundane meets the extraordinary. And this is just the beginning. Security protocols at LAX are rigorous, but what happened next was unprecedented. Officers moved with a mix of caution and urgency, scanning each suitcase as Meghan approached. Cameras caught every step, every glance, every adjustment. It was as if the entire terminal became a stage, each participant unknowingly playing a role in a story that would soon unfold across screens worldwide. The 7 suitcases, lined up like silent sentinels, each carried its own mystery. Some were standard luggage, some unusually large, all meticulously packed. Security officers, trained to notice anomalies, couldn't help but sense something beyond the obvious. Their hands hovered over scanners, their eyes flicked to monitors, and the tension grew. The footage later revealed micro-expressions, subtle gestures that hinted at unease, curiosity, and a faint hint of apprehension. What made this moment so extraordinary was the convergence of multiple forces. Meghan Markle, a figure under constant public scrutiny, walked through an environment built for safety, routine, and predictability. And yet, unpredictability erupted in the most dramatic way. The combination of celebrity presence, multiple large suitcases, and highly alert K-9 units created a perfect storm, captured perfectly on camera. But it wasn't just the physical scene that mattered. The emotional undertones were equally dramatic. Security officers exchanged hurried whispers, a subtle shift in stance, a quick glance at monitors, all indicating that this was no ordinary checkpoint encounter. The cameras caught it all: the tension, the anticipation, the unspoken questions. For viewers watching later, it was impossible to ignore the growing suspense, the sense that something monumental was about to occur. Then came the first clear alert. One of the K-9 units, trained to detect a wide range of substances, signaled with uncharacteristic intensity. The dog barked, circled, and refused to move away from a single suitcase. Handlers responded immediately, but there was a brief hesitation, a rare pause where even seasoned officers had to reassess. The suitcase in question wasn't just large. It was different, almost imperceptibly so, and that difference triggered a chain reaction that would ripple throughout the airport's security network. In that moment, ordinary travelers passed by, oblivious to the drama unfolding just feet away. Phones buzzed, coffee cups clinked, and rolling luggage echoed across the terminal. Yet in one corner, an extraordinary sequence of events had begun, events that would later become the focus of global attention. Cameras captured every second, and what they recorded would later fuel speculation, theories, and intense public fascination. Even Meghan's demeanor played a role in the tension. The footage showed subtle cues: the tilt of her head, the adjustment of a strap on one suitcase, a glance toward a staff member. Micro-expressions that seemed minor at the time would later be dissected frame by frame, each movement analyzed for intent, meaning, and potential implication. The combination of human behavior, procedural precision, and canine instinct created a perfect storm of suspense. And just when the tension seemed to peak, another suitcase triggered attention. The K-9 unit circled again, this time barking more insistently. Officers moved closer, cameras focused, and the ordinary transformed into a scenario that could have been scripted for a thriller movie. Every eye in the security room followed the sequence with bated breath, knowing that something significant was happening, but no one could yet predict what. Why did the dogs react this way? What could be inside these suitcases that triggered such precision? Was it cash, contraband, or something else entirely? Questions swirled in the minds of officers, later echoed by the public, media, and experts. And the footage, silent yet telling, preserved every nuance, every gesture, and every reaction in high-definition clarity. As Meghan continued through the terminal, moving toward customs, the cameras never left her. Each suitcase was inspected with growing intensity, officers communicating through hand signals, brief whispers, and careful gestures. The tension escalated as each piece of luggage was scanned, opened, and examined. The K-9 alerts never fully subsided, and the handler's body language indicated that this was no routine day at the airport. By the time the last suitcase reached the conveyor, the situation had reached a critical point. Security officers, handlers, and even nearby travelers were caught in a moment that balanced on the edge of revelation. Cameras captured it all: the alerting dogs, the tense officers, the seemingly calm, yet calculated movements of Meghan Markle. It was a scene that blended routine protocol with unprecedented drama. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming.